Cut your grocery budget. Lower your transportation costs. Oh, and my favorite, pay yourself first. You ever notice that every double your savings video sounds exactly the same? If any of that actually worked, we'd all have 10 grand sitting in the bank right now. The reality is that most middle-class working adults are stretched thin, and those one-size-fits-all tips just don't cut it. In this video, I'm going to show you practical ways to double your savings in a year without moving across the country or giving up everything you love. Because honestly, I believe you can enjoy your life now and build wealth for the future without choosing one over the other. And since we're talking about saving money and building wealth, I've got something you're going to love. I'm putting together a free 5-day magnetic wealth activation course that's launching soon. It's a huge value, and if you want to be the first to know when it's ready, sign up with the link below. It's completely free, and it's designed to help you start building the kind of wealth and financial freedom you've always wanted. Now let's get into the first step. How to build a plan that actually fits your reality. Don't start with fantasy numbers. Map your fixed obligations first. Housing, utilities, insurance, debt payments, so you know what's truly non-negotiable. And then decide what's actually available for savings. A realistic plan beats an idealistic one every day. Here's what I mean. Most people try to save from whatever's left at the end of the month. But that never works because life always fills in the gaps. The car needs gas, the kids need something for school, a bill shows up that you weren't expecting, and suddenly your leftovers are gone. Now, the other extreme is not much better. A lot of so-called experts will tell you to just pay yourself first and set aside 20% right off the top. And while that works great in theory, it completely ignores the reality that many middle-class working families are already stretched to the limit. If you try to force a savings rate without understanding your true expenses, you don't end up saving more. You end up pulling it right back out of your savings to cover your bills. And that just creates guilt, frustration, and the feeling that you're failing. The truth is, the first step to doubling your savings isn't skipping the coffee or hitting some magic percentage. It's getting clear on your real fixed obligations. Write down what you pay every single month for housing, utilities, insurance, daycare, debt payments, the stuff that's non-negotiable. Separate those from your flexible or lifestyle expenses like dining out, streaming subscriptions, or shopping. Let me give you an example. Let's say your take-home pay is $4 grand a month. Your rent or mortgage is $1,500. Utilities are about $300. Insurance and minimum debt payments add up to, say, another $900. That's $2,700 in fixed obligations, which leaves about $1,300 for everything else. Now, if you blindly try to save $800 because you heard you should save 20%, you'll be left trying to make $500 cover groceries, gas, kids, daycare, and life. It's just not realistic. But if you know the real numbers, maybe you start with $300 towards savings. That's doable. And over time, you can increase it as you find ways to create more space. From there, you can see exactly how much is truly available to save. And that's the number you can build from. This is what I call building a plan that fits reality. It's not about perfection, it's about truth. When you know exactly what's fixed and what's flexible, you can stop pretending that you can save from imaginary money. You see what's actually available and you start from there. This is what gives you a foundation you can actually build on. Now that you've got a plan that fits your reality, the next step is to protect that plan with buffers. Think of buffers as shock absorbers for your money. Just like your car's suspension smooths out the bumps in the road, buffers smooth out the bumps in your cash flow. Without them, every little hiccup, whether it's an automatic payment that clears a day early, or a forgotten subscription that charges, or a paycheck that hits a day late, it can all throw your entire system off balance. And what usually happens when that balance is thrown off, well, you'll dip into your savings to cover the gap, which means your savings isn't really growing anywhere. It's just money that's constantly in motion between your checking and your savings and back to your checking and back to your savings. It never sticks in one place. So how do buffers work? A buffer is simply a small cushion of money that you intentionally leave in your accounts so you're not riding the edge of zero. For example, let's say your checking account normally runs down to about $50 just before payday arrives. That's living on a razor's edge. All it takes is one surprise transaction to overdraft and you're hit with fees. But if you intentionally build a buffer, let's say a couple hundred, maybe 300 in that account, suddenly those small timing issues, they're not a crisis anymore. The same goes for your bill pay account if you use one. If your utilities and insurance are on auto pay every month, give that account a little breathing room so those payments clear even if your paycheck hasn't arrived yet. Here's why this matters. Without buffers, you'll always be tempted to raid your savings whenever your checking or your other accounts run low, and you know that you have upcoming expenses. And that's how people end up in the save, spend cycle, where the balance never gets any bigger. When you have buffers, those little bumps get absorbed before they ever touch your savings, and that means your savings can actually stay saved and keeps compounding. And I want you to hear this. Buffers don't have to be big to make a difference. Start with $50, then 100, then over time build it to 300, or whatever amount makes you feel comfortable. Every little step makes your money system more stable. And when your system is stable, your savings has breathing room that it needs to grow consistently. So if you've been wondering why your savings never seems to stick, check your buffers. This is one of the simplest shifts you can make to stop the cycle of dipping into your savings, and it's one that's the easiest way to double your balances over time. The next step isn't just about how much you put away, it's about making sure your actual savings gets saved. And the way you do that is by creating a freedom fund. You've probably watched countless videos that talk about building an emergency fund, and I've even mentioned it here in this video as well. Your emergency fund is the money that's set aside for real emergencies, job loss, medical emergencies, major home repairs. But here's the problem. Most people use the emergency fund for things that aren't really emergencies. Brakes for the car, service calls when you have to call the plumber or the electrician. The paycheck is just a little bit short. And before you know it, the account that's supposed to protect you in a true crisis is just drained by everyday life. That's why I teach something different. It's a middle layer that I call your freedom fund. Your freedom fund is a separate account that acts like a release valve. It's there to handle the bumps of everyday life so you're not dipping into your emergency savings every time something unexpected happens. Think about it this way. Your main checking account is for day-to-day spending. Your emergency fund is for true crisis. And your freedom fund is the one in between. This is where you keep money for things like car repairs, small medical bills, and appliance repair, or even just covering the gap when your expenses hit before your paycheck clears. Instead of stressing or turning to credit cards, your freedom fund takes a hit and your savings plan keeps moving forward and growing. And by the way, if this idea of creating more freedom with your money is resonating with you, you're going to love what I have coming. I'm putting together a free 5-day magnetic wealth activation course that's launching soon. And here's the thing. It's not the same old, outdated advice you've heard from everyone else. It's a huge value, and if you want to be the first to know when it's ready, sign up with the link below. It's completely free, and it's designed to help you start building the kind of wealth and financial freedom you've always said that you would get to someday. Here's the important thing about having a freedom fund. If you use it, refill it. Using your freedom fund is not failure. It's proof that your system is working. Just like a firefighter always refills the water tank after a call, you want to refill this account so you're ready for the next unexpected expense. When you set up a freedom fund, you stop draining your emergency savings for everyday life, you protect your financial foundation, and give yourself the breathing room you need to actually grow your savings. The fourth thing that you can do to double your savings is to stop thinking of it as a giant, overwhelming goal and instead break it down by working backwards. Here's what I mean. Let's say you've already got $5,000 in savings and your goal is to double it. That means you want to end up with $10,000. So the real target is an additional $5,000 that you need to put away. If you break this down by 12 months, that goal becomes more doable. And even if you have nothing saved and you want to start from zero, you do the same thing. This is the secret to big savings goals. When you break them down into bite-sized chunks, they stop being intimidating. Instead of saying, I need to save $5,000, you can say, all I need to do is put aside $96 this week. That's the kind of math that helps you move forward. The best thing about this approach is that it lets you start exactly where you are and still make progress, whether you want to double your savings or reach for a bit of a higher amount. And even if you can't save exactly the amount you need each month, then set a goal to start somewhere. Even if it's just a couple $100s a month right now, or a couple hundred more than what you're already saving. The point is to break it into chunks that makes it easier to accomplish. Because if you wait until October of next year to start doubling your savings, it's going to feel impossible. Saving a little each month builds momentum instead of waiting for someday. When you magically have thousands of dollars saved, you can see yourself moving step by step towards the finish line right now. And the final step to doubling your savings is to take the decision-making out of it. Because here's the truth. If saving money always depends on willpower, it's going to fail eventually. Willpower is limited. Life gets busy. Emergencies happen. There's always something else competing for your money. That's why the smartest way to grow your savings is to make it automatic. Now I know when I say automatic, most people immediately think that I'm talking about auto transfers to a savings account. And yes, that's part of it. But I want you to think bigger. Automatic growth is setting up your whole system so savings grows without you having to constantly wrestle with it. In real life, that starts with the automatic transfers to your savings or your freedom fund. You decide what number is realistic for you, because when the money isn't sitting in your checking account, the temptation to spend it almost disappears. But there are two other ways to automate your money that are just as powerful. Deciding where your extra money goes and automatically increasing how much you save every year. These two steps are what create real momentum. And it's worth mentioning, keeping your savings in a high-yield savings or money market account. Now, the goal here isn't a huge return. It's simply to earn more than nothing. When you combine all of this, saving money stops being something you struggle to remember and starts being something that just happens in the background. That's the real path to doubling your savings. Not through guilt, not through deprivation, but through systems that grow your money automatically while you live your life. But there's one more piece to the savings puzzle that most people get wrong, and if you skip it, you're going to feel like you're always starting over. Watch this video next to make sure your savings is actually growing.